My career vanished with a single email on a Tuesday morning. I am Olivia Chen, 42 years old, based in San Francisco, and until recently the lead meditation framework designer at Interpulse. For 12 years, I poured my soul into crafting guided meditations that helped millions find peace. The app grew from startup to wellness giant, with my voice guiding users through anxiety, grief, and trauma. My methodologies were backed by research and refined through countless feedback cycles from our growing user base. The company culture shifted when new management arrived last spring. Suddenly, user metrics and subscription conversions dominated every meeting we had. Our CEO, Marcus, began talking about reaching younger demographics and refreshing our brand identity constantly. I continued developing my signature series on cognitive resilience, despite the changing atmosphere around me. The executive team still nodded appreciatively during my presentations about new meditation pathways. The first red flag appeared when my access to certain research folders became restricted without notice. I assumed it was an IT glitch and filed a ticket that remained unresolved for weeks. Then meetings began happening without my calendar invites arriving in my inbox. Younger team members exchanged glances when I entered rooms unexpectedly. My direct reports were reassigned to other projects without any explanation given to me. Marcus called me into his office on that fateful Tuesday morning without warning. The HR director sat silently beside his desk with a manila folder in her hands. My stomach dropped before any words were spoken between us. Marcus spoke about company, direction, and market evolution while avoiding any eye contact with me. The HR director slid severance papers across the mahogany desk without speaking. I sat in my car in the parking garage for nearly an hour afterward. Shock paralyzed my thoughts and numbed my fingers against the steering wheel completely. My box of desk plants and framed certifications felt foreign on the passenger seat beside me. The security guard had watched apologetically as I emptied my workspace quickly. Former colleagues averted their eyes as I walked past their glass-walled offices. The official story claimed a restructuring to streamline operations across departments. My severance package seemed generous at first glance, with 6 months of salary continuation. The non-disclosure agreement buried in paragraph 17 troubled me deeply upon careful reading. It essentially prohibited me from claiming ownership of methodologies I had developed over years. I took the papers home without signing anything that day. 3 days later, I discovered the truth through a former intern posting on social media. Interpulse announced their exciting new partnership with Aria Bloom, meditation influencer with 2 million followers. Her youthful face smiled from our company website, where mine had been deleted completely. The premium course being promoted used my exact terminology and session structures without modification. They had renamed my cognitive resilience framework as Mindful Transcendence Journey. I threw my phone across the living room when I saw her announcement video. The screen cracked against the wall but continued displaying her face mockingly. Aria had no background in psychology or meditation research before becoming internet famous overnight. Her qualifications consisted entirely of looking serene in expensive yoga wear for cameras. Now she would profit from my years of careful research and development. The anger kept me awake for 3 straight nights without respite. I paced my apartment furiously, reviewing options and scenarios repeatedly. The severance agreement remained, unsigned on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. Lawyers would cost more than I could afford on my dwindling savings account. Going public would violate confidentiality clauses from my original employment contract with Interpulse. I nearly signed the papers on the 4th day out of exhaustion and defeat. The pen hovered above the signature line as tears blurred my vision completely. Then I remembered something that changed everything about my situation instantly. I had been documenting my work methodically for years in ways the company might not know about. Hope flickered like a distant lighthouse through fog in my mind. My apartment became a war room over the following week of intense preparation. I pulled external hard drives from storage and excavated email archives from old accounts. My documentation obsession had always been a quirk that colleagues teased me about regularly. Now it might become my salvation against corporate theft of my life work. I discovered I had backed up over 2,000 pages of framework development notes. Most crucially, I found the drafts I had emailed to my personal account before finalizing each series. The timestamps created an undeniable ownership trail predating any company claims to my work. I had essentially been creating a parallel record of intellectual property development for years, unknowingly. My hands steadied as I organized the evidence into clear chronological order carefully. Corporate lawyers would still crush any direct confrontation attempt from me alone. Their resources vastly outmatched mine in every category of legal warfare. I needed to approach this asymmetrical battle with strategy rather than force to succeed. The company expected me to either accept defeat or launch a futile frontal attack. Their calculations failed to account for my patience and methodical nature completely. I reached out to my former college roommate, Catherine, who had become a respected intellectual property attorney. She reviewed my evidence during a weekend visit that stretched into 3 days of strategic planning. Her eyes widened as she sifted through my documentation archives carefully. The trail of ownership was remarkably clear and legally compelling. In her assessment, she explained that my methodical record-keeping had created a strong case. Catherine advised against immediate legal action despite the strength of my evidence files. A direct lawsuit would trigger their defensive protocols and unlimited legal resources immediately. We needed to build additional protection before revealing our position to Interpulse. She suggested finding established scientific validation for my frameworks to strengthen their value. The company had stolen my work, but underestimated its true market worth severely. I contacted Dr. James Harrison, a neuroscientist whose research I had followed for years admiringly. His work on meditation effects on neural pathway formation had fascinating parallels with my frameworks. I proposed a collaboration to scientifically validate my methodology through his university research program immediately. James responded with unexpected enthusiasm to my detailed proposal the next day. He had actually used Interpulse meditations in previous studies without knowing I created them. Our collaboration quickly expanded beyond validation into innovation and new discoveries. James introduced me to advanced biofeedback mechanisms that could enhance my framework effectiveness significantly. I showed him how philosophical principles could be translated into practical guidance sequences for users. Together we began envisioning something more ambitious than mere validation of existing work. The possibility of creating an entirely new platform emerged from our exchanges. The severance deadline arrived without my signature on any documents from Interpulse. The company sent increasingly urgent emails regarding my unsigned paperwork each week. I responded with vague assurances about reviewing the materials carefully before deciding anything. Each delayed day gave us more time to develop our counterplan without revealing intentions. Catherine advised minimal communication to avoid revealing my strategic position prematurely. 6 weeks after my termination, Aria Bloom launched the Premium Mindfulness series on Interpulse. The promotional materials featured my frameworks with superficial modifications and trendy terminology throughout. Users paid $20 monthly for access to what was essentially my life work without attribution. The course received glowing coverage in wellness publications and lifestyle blogs across platforms. Industry analysts praised Interpulse for innovating in the competitive meditation app market aggressively. I watched their success from my apartment with surprising calm and focus. The initial rage had transformed into focused determination over weeks of preparation work. James and I had secured initial funding from a medical technology investor, impressed by our preliminary research results. Catherine had quietly filed provisional patents on my enhanced frameworks, with the new biofeedback components included. The pieces of our response were assembling steadily while Interpulse celebrated. 3 months after my termination, our new venture officially incorporated under the name Still Within. James brought 5 researchers from his university lab to join our founding team immediately. My role as Chief Methodology Officer gave me creative control over all content development decisions. Catherine arranged our legal structure to maximize intellectual property protection from the outset, carefully. Our investor connections brought in $2 million of seed funding. Still Within operated in stealth mode during development to avoid industry attention. We rented a small office space in Oakland away from tech industry eyes and visitors. Our team grew to 15 people focused on creating a revolutionary meditation platform with measurable results. The app combined my proven frameworks with neural monitoring innovations from James. Users could see real-time feedback on meditation effectiveness through simple visualizations on screen. Interpulse remained completely unaware of our existence during this critical development phase. Their quarterly earnings call boasted record subscription growth driven by their premium mindfulness series Constantly. Arya Bloom appeared on morning television, demonstrating simplified versions of my techniques with confidence. The company announced expansion plans into corporate wellness programs, using my frameworks as their core offering extensively. Their success, built entirely on stolen intellectual property, fueled our determination. Our beta testing phase produced remarkable user engagement metrics beyond expectations. Participants reported significantly stronger results than with existing meditation apps, including Interpulse. The neural feedback components created measurable improvement in session effectiveness for all users. We documented these results through rigorous testing protocols supervised by university researchers meticulously. The scientific validation created an unassailable foundation for our approaching market entry plans. Catherine finalized our intellectual property protection strategy after months of careful preparation. We had established clear ownership documentation, secured independent scientific validation, and enhanced the original framework significantly. The provisional patents had been converted to full applications with comprehensive claims covering our innovations. Our legal position was now strong enough to challenge Interpulse directly without hesitation. The trap was set after months of patient preparation work. The confrontation began with a simple certified letter delivered to Interpulse headquarters, downtown. The document detailed my ownership claims with supporting evidence citations arranged chronologically. It outlined the unauthorized use of my intellectual property in their premium offerings without permission. The letter requested immediate negotiation regarding licensing terms rather than immediate litigation proceedings. No mention of still within appeared anywhere in the communication intentionally. Their response came 3 days later through an aggressive outside counsel with threatening language. The letter dismissed my claims as frivolous and contractually invalid under employment agreements. It referenced employment agreements regarding work product ownership and threatened countersuit for harassment promptly. The tone conveyed absolute confidence in their legal position against me. They clearly believed I had no evidence beyond what existed in their systems. Catherine responded with our second communication, containing the first evidence packet immediately. We included 50 pages of conclusive timestamp documentation showing my authorship predated company implementation clearly. University research validation of my specific methodological innovations accompanied the evidence package thoroughly. The message remained focused on negotiation rather than litigation, despite our strengthened position. We requested acknowledgement of my intellectual property rights respectfully. Their response timeline slowed considerably after receiving our evidence packet without explanation. 2 weeks passed without official communication, while we monitored internal reactions through industry contacts secretly. A former colleague reported emergency meetings involving senior leadership and legal teams throughout headquarters. Another source mentioned intensified document reviews and system access audits being conducted internally. Their initial dismissiveness had transformed into concerned investigation of records. The third communication arrived from their side after 17 days of complete silence. The tone had changed dramatically to cautious professionalism and measured language. They requested a mediation meeting with neutral intellectual property experts present for discussions. The letter carefully avoided any admissions while opening the door to potential settlement discussions cautiously. They still did not know about Still Within or our imminent market entry plans. We agreed to mediation while simultaneously finalizing our app launch preparations behind scenes. The scheduled meeting would occur exactly 1 week before our planned public announcement strategically. This timing was strategic rather than coincidental for maximum leverage effect. We wanted maximum leverage during negotiations without showing our full hand prematurely to opponents. The mediation would proceed with them believing I sought only financial compensation. The mediation session took place at a neutral law office in downtown San Francisco that morning. I arrived with Catherine and our intellectual property consultant, but without James intentionally. Marcus represented Interpulse alongside their chief legal officer and 2 outside attorneys in suits. His face registered genuine shock upon seeing me confidently entering the conference room unexpectedly. He had clearly expected a desperate former employee rather than composed opponent. The opening presentations established dramatically different positions on each side of the table. Their team claimed all meditation frameworks constituted work product under my employment contract terms. Our side presented overwhelming evidence of my independent development and documentation outside company systems completely. The mediator repeatedly asked clarifying questions about ownership timelines and documentation authenticity throughout presentations. 3 hours into the session, the momentum had shifted visibly toward our position. I observed Marcus whispering urgently with his legal team during our short break. Their body language revealed growing concern about their position against us. Catherine confirmed the mediator seemed convinced by our ownership evidence completely. We maintained our composed exterior while internally celebrating this preliminary victory carefully. The carefully constructed documentation trail had performed exactly as intended in creating leverage over them. The afternoon session began with a surprising shift from the Interpulse team unexpectedly. They introduced a potential compromise position acknowledging my contribution while maintaining company ownership rights simultaneously. Their offer included creator credit and a one-time compensation payment of $200,000 immediately. The proposal required full confidentiality and prohibition against any competitive activities from me. They believed this generous offer would resolve my financial concerns completely. I listened to their proposal with an outwardly neutral expression hiding my thoughts. The amount they offered would indeed have seemed substantial to the person I was 4 months earlier. Catherine responded by introducing our third evidence packet containing the scientific validation studies methodically. She explained the documented market value of my frameworks based on their premium subscription revenue figures. Their offer represented less than 8% of annual revenue generated by my intellectual property. Their team requested another private consultation after reviewing our evidence package silently. The afternoon stretched into evening as negotiations continued through multiple rounds of offers. Each counteroffer brought incremental improvements, while revealing their growing concern about position. Marcus appeared increasingly uncomfortable as the compensation figures rose through successive proposals steadily. By 7 p.m, we had reached potential agreement on creator attribution. I declined their final offer of the day, despite Catherine suggesting we consider it seriously. The proposed terms still treated my intellectual property as a one-time acquisition rather than ongoing partnership. We adjourned with agreement to reconvene the following morning for final discussions about terms. Marcus looked physically exhausted as we departed the mediation center quietly. He still had no idea that compensation represented only our secondary objective. The next morning began with their revised offer addressing some licensing concerns. Substantively, the total compensation package now approached $1.2 million, including future revenue sharing. Their legal team seemed confident this substantial improvement would conclude our dispute amicably without further conflict. They anticipated quick agreement, followed by settlement document preparation immediately. The atmosphere had shifted toward collaborative resolution rather than adversarial positioning. I waited until their presentation concluded before delivering our calculated revelation strategically. Catherine distributed our final evidence packet containing still within press materials and launch announcements unexpectedly. I explained our new venture backed by scientific research and substantial investor funding calmly. Our competing platform would launch the following week with demonstrably superior features to theirs. Their expressions transformed from confidence to alarm as they processed this unexpected development. Marcus asked for immediate private consultation with his team upon hearing news. Their hushed but heated discussion carried partially through the conference room door to us. They clearly recognized the existential threat beyond mere financial compensation claims. When they returned 30 minutes later, the chief legal officer had taken lead negotiator position from Marcus. He requested detailed information about still within functionality and market positioning immediately. The afternoon negotiations shifted entirely toward comprehensive resolution, rather than narrow settlement terms. Interpulse now faced competitive market entry alongside intellectual property claims simultaneously. Their revised proposal included substantially increased compensation of $3 million, plus ongoing royalties quarterly. They requested a technology review to assess potential collaboration, rather than competition in markets. Most significantly, they proposed joint market messaging, acknowledging my foundational contribution publicly. Catherine and I consulted privately about this substantial shift in negotiating position carefully. The financial terms now exceeded our minimum acceptable threshold by considerable margin unexpectedly. The public recognition would restore my professional reputation, damaged by their earlier actions completely. The technology review could proceed without compromising our competitive advantages, already secured through patents. We decided to accept these core terms while negotiating final details. The settlement documents required 2 additional days of detailed review by both legal teams thoroughly. The final agreement included $3.5 million in immediate compensation for prior unauthorized use. Future implementations of my methodologies would carry creator attribution and 7% royalty payments quarterly. Most importantly, Interpulse acknowledged my intellectual property ownership in legally binding terms permanently. The company that had discarded me now paid millions to access what they attempted to steal. Still, Within launched exactly as scheduled the following week to industry attention. Major wellness publications covered our innovative approach to evidence-based meditation practices extensively. The neural feedback components received particular attention from technology reviewers in major publications. Our subscriber growth exceeded projections by 40% in the first month after launch. Industry analysts noted our scientific validation as a significant differentiator in the crowded market. Interpulse announced a strategic methodology partnership with me through carefully worded press releases simultaneously. The premium series received updated creator attribution and methodology background information immediately. Aria remained the presenter, but no longer claimed development credit for the frameworks and materials. Their marketing messaging shifted toward scientific validation to counter our market positioning aggressively. The company had pivoted to salvage their investment while fulfilling settlement terms. My bank account now contained more money than I had earned in 12 years of employment combined. The validation of my work reached millions through dual-platform distribution channels worldwide. Most satisfyingly, my innovations would help people improve their mental wellness with proper attribution forever. The revenge that once motivated me had transformed into something more meaningful through the journey. Creating Still Within had forced me to expand my vision beyond Interpulse. 6 months after settlement, our company passed 100,000 active subscribers globally. James and I continued developing next-generation frameworks, combining meditation with neurological research findings. Our team had grown to 30 people committed to evidence-based wellness approaches for users. Investors approached us regularly, with expansion funding offers based on our remarkable user retention metrics. The professional journey that began with betrayal had led to unprecedented opportunity. I occasionally see Marcus at industry events now that I attend as founder rather than employee. He nods politely from across the room, but never approaches directly during gatherings. The subject of our settlement remains unmentioned in public settings by mutual agreement between us. The company continues paying quarterly royalties that fund our research foundation for meditation accessibility globally. Our legal conflict transformed into a productive if distant coexistence within wellness technology. The greatest lesson came not from the victory, but from the process itself, completely. Documentation and methodical preparation created leverage that money alone could not buy in conflict. Patience allowed strategy to develop where immediate reaction would have failed catastrophically. Partnership with the right allies transformed defensive protection into offensive opportunity for growth. Most importantly, I learned that professional identity exists independently from any employer or platform permanently. Have you ever had your work taken without recognition? And how did you reclaim what was rightfully yours?